some members of the UN watched the episode. What can you tell us about that experience?
I think for me, it was so. I don't think I've been to the United Nations since I was on a little school trip when I was in 4th grade or something. So just to be there was uplifting and very exciting. A couple of things I noticed. One, the secretaries that spoke, human resources, children, armed conflict, terrorism, etc., were brilliant public speakers. Brilliant. And before we went, I sort of did a little research and read their different policy papers in the different departments that they represent. The policy papers are hard to read because it's very heady stuff. But when these people get up and talk about their commitment to children and armed conflict or human rights, you're very, very moved by how hard these people work, how deeply they think, and how complex the issues are. So my feeling about the UN went from sort of, oh yes, the United Nations, to the United Nations. The United Nations has the potential to hold the key, I think, for this whole thing. And the fact that the UN has recognized that what they would like to be able to do is to move their message into popular culture so they can finally have the people, we the people all over the globe, truly comprehend the sophisticated ideas that are inherent in having a global agreement. That's a hard thing to really, really get people to do. Fortunately, we have leadership all over the world now that's open to the idea. So the fact that they see that pop culture, meaning us, has the opportunity to help them with their ideas, I think is very good and very fortunate for all of us. They were very pleased, and we were very pleased, and the audience loved it. So I think it's a beginning, but it can't happen unless you have the good writing on the TV show to begin with. Because the United Nations, they're not going to mess around with sentiment, you know what I'm saying, or romanticism, or cliche. Those things won't serve, it won't help serve their purposes at all. So, it's kind of, how do you say, I don't know how you say it in French, but it's, there's something appropriate about this show with in this time in the United Nations coming together.
And how do you explain the impact of the show? Because it's quite unusual that members of the UN debated about a show.
You know what I think it was? I think ultimately there's many good shows on television that deal with politics and war and terror and all of the things that, the environment, everything that we have to deal with on a daily basis in Angola. But I think ultimately the thing that Battlestar Galactica did, that other shows haven't done yet, but I think it is the idea, because I think it is evolutionary, is how do we get ourselves as a world population, and how do the leaders of the world bring the people along towards the idea? Two things. One is that there is no other. That you are me, I am she. What was that, John Lennon? We are all together. You know that song? That we're the same. And in Battlestar Galactica, the Cylon idea, we were so frightened of the Cylons at the beginning. My character was the worst offender of fear, trying to protect a civilization from the other. We have to evolve beyond that on this planet in order to begin to save the planet, right, and to move into a much higher consciousness. So that, I think the UN really responded to that in Battlestar, really, really saw that that was the idea. And I think on a, maybe this might be a spiritual level, but I'm not sure quite where it falls, but the courage to not pick up arms as always the choice, to figure out a way to understand ourselves as as people and world population to not be fearing death. And therefore, if there's a situation and there's another possibility that it perhaps may risk a great deal, but perhaps there's a different choice to be made when feeling threatened. Is it possible after September 11th, under a different administration, that we would have made a different choice in Iraq? Of course it's possible. And what would that have created around the world? I'm not saying right or wrong here. I'm saying I think the UN saw in Battlestar that we were pushing at, investigating the ideas of have a peaceful response or a warring response and violent response to fear, exploring the ideas of fear and its impact on humanity, exploring the idea of we're running out of time, because we are running out of time on the planet, and Battlestar Galactica, they're running out of time. They're always running out of time, and then in their case literally running away from time into another time. So but also just, is it possible for a human being to get to the point where, when threatened, sort of as the Dalai Lama would say, do not strike? Is that possible to start to begin to put that idea out as a cultural idea? And can it emanate from a thinking body like the UN? Well, clearly not completely at the moment, because the UN is also membered by people that are not committed to that idea at all, right? But there's many people in the United Nations, I think, who truly are devoted to evolution and a higher consciousness and world peace. I think that's sincere. So now I'm now the new spokesperson for the United Nations. They don't know it yet.